Welcome, everybody, to the Amateur Fanboy Podcast. I'm Chase Aguirre, and this is Mike Urtaza, my co-host. So today we will be talking about the salary cap. The NFL just released a salary cap number for 2021. We'll talk about some cuts. We'll talk about the comp picks that came out, and we'll also talk about come on, we got you. You see the jersey I'm wearing. We're going to talk about the Cowboys. You know we're going to talk about the Cowboys.
God, yeah.
And we're also going to talk about the Niners. You see Mike's hat. So
sure, but we are focusing on NFL news and rumors, discussions, stuff like that.
Everything.
If you haven't checked us out, check out our videos. We're going to actually be posting some fun NFL draft mock simulations with some cool, fun twists to it. Basically, we're going to have almost half the teams will be ghost teams, so we won't know what the computer will simulate, and it'll be kind of, we'll guess, and then we'll react to it.
Yeah.
And so we will not be picking the Niners pick or the Cowboys pick. We're going to be surprised.
No, that's fine by me.
So with that, we will start with salary cap is set for 2021 at $182.5 million.
And that's what about... I think
it went down. It was
I said like $10 million less than they thought, or something like that.
I think it was 195, I believe, last year.
Yeah, so they were so it went down a little bit.
Of course, it's better because the floor that they had put during the season for this coming season was going to be 175. It wouldn't go lower than that. Then about a month ago, they announced that it wouldn't be lower than 180, and then there was speculation that it would be closer to 190, but it ended up being 182.5. I think you're seeing it with a bunch of cuts, which we'll go into after this. Teams are going to be... look at the Saints. They're cutting a lot of players. They're restructuring a lot of players. The Cowboys are restructuring players. A lot of teams are restructuring, cutting players. Free agency is going to be weird this season. We might see... The players that are going to get paid, of course, are going to be the elite good players, and then the average to above average players will just be the ones that end up with a one-year deal, a lot less than what their actual value is in the past. Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting for teams who have money, like the Jaguars, the Colts, the Jets. Those teams, putting together a good free agent haul and not having to necessarily spend a lot.
Yeah.
I do think teams like the Chiefs, the Bucks, will have an opportunity to get players on a cheap one-year deal, and I'm excited to see how this plays out, especially for my team, who has that need on offensive line. And going into the cuts, the Giants cut Kevin Zettler, who's a guard that was originally with Cincinnati a few years ago. He ended up going to the Browns, and then he got moved to the Giants when they traded for Odell Beckham, the Browns on that side. So Riley Reif, who actually played really well last year at left tackle, he's a decent option for a team. The 49ers, if they don't re-sign Trent Williams, they might go into signing a guy like that to at least put somebody there who's decent enough to play. It's going to be interesting because there's so many players that are getting cut. It's pretty awesome to see that happen on a team level, not on a player level.
I want to compare it a little bit to how we talk about like the buyouts and like the in the NBA, how like certain players like get cut because their team's not a contender and they want to get rid of these guys, like the Andre Drummonds, the Blake Griffins of the NBA. I think a lot of that is going to be kind of put into this offseason. You're going to see a lot of teams that a lot of players want to take shots, maybe it's a lot of playing time, not a lot of playing time, to potentially go out and win a championship. And I think that you'll see a lot of that happen this year in the offseason.
What are we expecting outside of potentially having one-year deals? Like, is there a lot of vets might just wait it out towards the season?
I can definitely see that. I can see you see guys like was it Des Bryant that eventually kind of got.
He's going to be a tough one.
But but not necessarily like him, like guys that are literally like could play, but they're just going to wait.
Cam Newton last year waited almost till the season started to sign with the Patriots. He waited, I believe, till after the draft.
I think you'll see a lot of guys wait till after the draft to see where things are at.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Like Quan Alexander, who just got traded to the Saints, and they cut him, and he had like a $13 million cap hit this coming season. Yeah. So, let me run through it real quick. Giants cut Kevin Zettler, and this is just today, and I might be missing some. Bills cut John Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had like a $7 million hit. That one is not surprising because of his injury problem. I believe he has like a sickle cell since he's been born, and
Okay.
When he gets injured, it takes him a lot longer to heal.
Right.
From my understanding, and he can't really play like in high altitude like the Denver Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for a team maybe like for a team who might need a deep threat receiver, but doesn't really have the cap space to sign one, that would be a good option there.
No, I would agree. I think you're gonna see. I think you're gonna like I said earlier. I think you're gonna see a lot of teams like the Bucks and the Chiefs, teams that you were just in the Super Bowl. We know that the Bucks
and they don't have much cap space. The
they
Chiefs
don't
on that end,
but
that's why they're gonna sign players on a cheap deal.
But that's why I'm saying maybe John Brown takes a chance to go to Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, and maybe
Could you imagine?
I'm just saying like gets a cheap deal and then goes out and gets paid after he possibly stays healthy and balls out. I mean, that's not a bad idea.
So Saints also cut Emmanuel Sanders.
I saw that. Yep.
I wouldn't surprise if he went to the Niners on a cheap deal. He was there a season ago, went to the Super Bowl. He really, it wouldn't surprise me. We'll see how that plays out. He would be like a third option there, even fourth if you count George Kittle as the first option, Debo, Ayuk, and then it'd be Emmanuel. So I think he's a good leader for that for any locker room. So Quan got cut. I could see the Saints bringing him back on a cheap deal.
Yeah.
The Cards caught Robert Alford. I believe he was with the Falcons the season prior.
I think
he played
so, yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Today has been a bloodbath. There's like I've only nitpicked players were like cream of the crop basically.
And we haven't even talked about the guys that aren't getting the franchise tag either.
There's a lot
the
of
Galladays, the Keanu Neals.
We can talk about Galladay next.
Yeah, we can.
So, yeah, with that, I'm pretty excited to see how this plays out. It's going to be one of the most active free agency in a while.
With the caveat, I think there will be a lot of waiting and see how the draft plays out. I think we will still see some guys sign, but I think a lot of it's going to happen after the draft. Which, I think a couple guys on NFL Network, I was kind of watching. I haven't watched NFL Network in a while. But I think a couple guys were saying, with the salary cap and how, the draft, a lot of players are gonna wait and see. So
it'd probably be a better option unless if the Chiefs come calling, you probably go sign with them.
Yeah, of course. Or if a team offers you a bunch of money, $20 million a year as your Galladay or receiver, you're gonna take that money. You're gonna run. So I mean, but the guys like maybe the Quan Alexanders and the Kenny Vaccaros that got cut and the Emmanuel Sanders may wait till after the draft to see what teams draft, what they don't draft. Where their playing time could be. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm very, very excited. I cannot wait for the draft. I'm very excited.
So now the comp picks were released today. At first, they gave the 49ers three thirds.
Yeah.
And then they reversed it. I don't know how the NFL makes that mistake. It's such a big level where they didn't really.
They were supposed to get one next year, right, or something like that.
So we're getting 3 ones. Sorry, not 3 ones.
3 threes.
We're getting 3 threes for this season, next season, the following because of Robert Saleh signing with the Jets, and that was 2, and he's a minority because he's I don't know how to say he's
a minority hire.
He's a minority hire.
Yeah, and they have that in the
Mayhew,
clause.
who was one of the assistant general managers for the 49ers. He went to the Washington football team. So, yeah, that's why they're getting 3 thirds. So, yeah, and then the Cowboys got the most with 4. I think it was Byron
Jones, Robert Quinn, Randall Cobb, and I'm spacing on the other one. But I think Randall Cobb was the one they got the 6th round.
I think they got
Robert Quinn was
1/3, a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then, of course, the Patriots continued to. I think they got a 3rd and a 4th, and then they got a 3rd for Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of figured they were probably going to get a decent.
They got a decent. Maybe that's the top they can get.
Yeah.
So I mean, the comp picks. I'm curious how the comp picks will look next year. I feel like a lot of teams will be signing players who got cut because it doesn't affect their comp formula. Because if you don't know, compensation is basically if a player leaves in free agency, was not cut, traded, he left, he based off of his contract, and if he was on the team for a certain period, the whole season, and I believe playing time does matter into this as well, then the team that had let that player walk in free agency will receive some sort of pick in the draft. It could be a 3rd through a 7th rounder.
Now, do the amount of deals and like how much they get paid, does that affect any of it at all?
So what affects is what they get paid and playing time, from my understanding, but also how the team that let the player go, if they sign a person who has a similar contract, then they might cancel out the comp pick.
Yeah, because I know Byron Jones got the most money of any corner in free agency last year,
and that's why he got 3rd.
Years, so that's why we got the 3rd.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, this is some, a little. I think you have to be a little more of a fan to kind of care about the comp pick.
I knew this year we were going to get a few because we had a lot of guys leave, and
the good thing is you can trade, as of a few seasons ago. You can trade comp picks. So
I would like to. I know we're going to talk more about this probably in our draft simulator, but I really would like to see, after the Cowboys take a pick at 10, to maybe try to get back in the 1st or maybe the early 2nd or mid 2nd and try to see if they can string.
It just depends on what they do.
Oh, of course.
And then N'Keal Harry. So the report came out that teams have been reaching out to the Patriots about potentially trading for N'Keal Harry. He has been a disappointment. I believe he was injured for most of the season his rookie year. Last year was all right, but it wasn't very good. Showcase for a 1st-round pick receiver. So, I mean, I got to assume that the most a team is willing to spend at most is a 4th. I would assume he goes for a 5th or later. I mean, he still has potential. He's still on a rookie deal. It'll be a few mil a season. I think for a team that probably wants to have a young guy who has high potential, you go there maybe trying to think of
Tampa Bay.
No, Tampa Bay's not going to trade from. That's a bad spot.
Can you imagine?
The Packers. The Packers would be a good spot because he doesn't have to compete for the number 1 spot. He can compete for number 2.
What about the Chiefs?
Sure, I'm okay with that.
I'm thinking.
I mean, they have to improve.
A team that needs a weapon that's looking to win, like maybe the Bills can.
It's still a gamble.
Yeah, well, of course.
Which reminds me, we'll talk about maybe the Bills go after. Imagine if they went and got Galladay.
I mean, they could.
I don't think they will, but they're gonna have to pay Josh Allen after the season. Probably.
I do got a surprise team on the Galladay.
I think it's the Colts, but
that is not the. That's not my. That's not.
No, I say. I think.
I know. I think so too. But I got a dark horse. But we'll bring that up in a
bit. Any thoughts on N'Keal Harry?
I just think he needs to probably go to a team that has a quarterback that's extremely good. I think he needs to go to a really good system. I think it would help if he could stay on the field, obviously. But I just want to see him have a chance.
Consistency.
I want to see more consistency out of him. I want to see him flourish.
It's kind of tough. Look, he kind of played with Tom Brady, but then was injured most of the season. He didn't really get to, learn within playing the season, having an off season, stuff like that for his first year.
The only reason I brought up the Bucs was because I know they're not bringing an AB back, and maybe I don't know. We could see.
What was the report that Tom Brady Oh, we could talk about that later.
Yeah.
Tom Brady wants the Bucs to trade for Odell Beckham.
Yeah. No, not happening.
I mean, it could happen.
I think it's fake, but I think the report itself is fake.
But we'll talk about that after here. Do you have anything else on N'Keal before we move on?
I'll just say on that what you just left on right now with the Odell thing, the league would not.
They would allow it.
I mean, they would allow it, but I don't. The backlash on social media would not be great. But
for who?
If Odell, they'd be stacking up the team. I mean, it just.
That's fine. I mean, I don't think they can. It's going to be tough to work that contract onto their team, so I don't think it'll happen.
But that's what I'm saying. If it does happen, people are going
to
start
Odell
getting
got cut,
skeptical.
If, let's say, for whatever reason, the Browns weren't able to trade him, and they just straight up cut him, which I don't think will happen.
I don't think they would do that.
Then I could see him signing a 1 year.
Oh no, of course. If he gets cut, then all bets are out. But I think the trade makes little to no sense.
I mean, Adele is coming off an ACL tear.
I mean,
he hasn't really been anything since his first few seasons with the Giants. I mean, it's just that the name and his special catches that he had his first rookie season was basically has. I mean, he's been nothing.
No, he hasn't been anything special.
Anything special. I wouldn't trade for him with his contract.
You know, I take everything I said back. Let him go there because he's a headache, and every team he seems to go to seems to blow up.
I think. I think. We'll look, if you look at AB, I mean he is probably not going to resign there because I mean he's probably going to try to get one last pay. But I don't know who's going to sign him.
If I were him, I'd just retire. Just be lucky you got on a team.
No, I think AB.
Lucky on a team. Get a.
I
take
think
a ring
he should
and
at
go
least
home.
try to get one decent sized contract. I don't know who's signing him more than a 2-year deal. It'll probably be a 1-year deal where he goes.
I have no idea who's signing him.
I think there's teams. Look,
I mean, there's teams that need wide receivers.
He does have
of
some
his
legal
talent,
issues still.
But you know what comes with them. It would take maybe the Packers, maybe the Chiefs.
Seahawks.
It would take a team that has a good locker room to sign.
I gotta think the Seahawks, if they tried it, let's say they try to at least fix it with Wilson, go get a guy he has been wanting.
Weren't the Seahawks brought up with AB last year before he signed?
Yeah,
with the Bucs?
So last year before the season started, he was working out with Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson was basically saying he wants the Seahawks to go sign him, and he ended up going there. So that's why the rumors started pushing that. Last season that he's probably gonna sign with the Seahawks didn't happen.
Yep.
I mean, how much? He can't cost much.
No, probably like $4 or $5 million, maybe
a little more, like a 7.
Maybe 7. Yeah,
I can't imagine you're giving more a lot of guarantee.
You're not giving him double. You're not giving him double digits.
No, I wouldn't. I would rather go sign. There's a lot of receivers in free agency, so
I would agree.
So the Cowboys restructured. Tyrone Smith, Lowell Collins, and Zach Martin. They basically created $17 million. They had to, still get under the cap a little bit because Dak's, I believe his hit for this season was 22, and I feel like they had like 15 mil. So they did have to, create some fun things with the cap to be able to get. You got to get Dak under and then create more to sign free agents, sign your draft class, which is just typically like $9 million for a draft class. So, I mean, it makes sense. I don't necessarily hate it. If I was going to restructure any group, it would have been these 3 guys.
Yeah. Other than Tyron Smith, those other 2 guys are guys that I think it was just a really bad luck year for the most. And I would even argue with Tyrone because Tyrone up until that year had played at least 13 plus games. And that's still really, really solid for a guy you're paying that much money to. So, as long as he can play, 80-90% of the games and be healthy for the playoffs, I mean, I'm still fine with him moving forward. And I know Mike thinks differently. But
I don't, because I think if he's injured again this season, you're cutting him. I'm just talking about...
If he has a season-end injury, sure. But if he has an injury that he can either play through or... Because he played through in 2016, played through injuries.
Yeah, but the difference is,
13 and 3. In 2017, he played through injuries. In 2018, he played through injuries.
Yeah, but he still missed 3 games since 2015 every year.
No, I understand that, but why? Like, are we really acting like other than maybe quarterbacks and maybe a few special guys? A lot of guys miss games. Like, sure. I'm not saying he's not injury prone, but he's not missing half of seasons. He's missing 3 games.
He just missed 14 games.
Yeah, this was his first season missing.
Yeah, sure. He's never missed more than 3 games.
That's what I'm saying. I will give it another year to see if it. And again, if it happens, then we'll have that conversation. But right now, I'm not worried about it.
But let's just say, it is a problem because you are moving money to future years, which every team is doing at this moment. So it's not the end of the world. I do agree that you want to try to win this year, but also create opportunities in the future. Not put yourself in a bad situation where you got to cut a lot of players and kind of there's a lot of. The Cowboys have given out a lot of big contracts in the past couple of seasons. So it's I think his hit is $16 million after this season. I don't know after this restructure. I'm sure it's higher.
I just want to say one thing, and you can debunk it. You can go wherever you want to go with it, but at the end of the day, there's 3 to 4 guys on that team that I trust that are going to be really, really vital to this team going forward. Yes. Dak and those 3 offensive linemen. You just signed Dak, And those 3 offensive linemen are guys that are probably going to be with your team, probably for at least, maybe Tyron Smith we'll see this year, but Zach Martin and Lyle Collins for sure for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So,
well, I would say 2 for at least 2 for Lyle Collins and Zach Martin, because you just never know.
I mean, you never know, but I mean, Zach Martin for the most part, other than last year, has not had any injury issues.
But you got to say, if Tyron Smith misses 8 games,
if he misses more than a few games, sure, but
I'm sure, yeah. If he misses 3 games, then whatever.
I think last year was just like I said.
What was his injury?
He just had some neck issues, and I know neck injury. I get it, Mike. I see the face.
Well, look, the Cowboys wouldn't have restructured him if he wasn't.
But the thing is, it's either restructure a guy that has played through injuries, like I love Leighton Vander Esch. I love.
I mean, they don't have bad.
Whatever, but Leighton Vander Esch had a neck injury.
I know, but he's still on his rookie contract.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, there's guys that I'm more concerned about playing through injuries than Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith has played through injuries.
I'm not worried about him playing through injuries.
And last year,
if he's on the field, it doesn't.
And I would argue the only reason he missed much of last year when he finally did get injured was because, I mean, Dak was out. Like, it was a lost year. You might as well just recover.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So I think he could have played 13, 14 games last year. But anyways,
a bit concerned on that point.
I'm not saying you can't be concerned. I just choose to be optimistic because I've seen how these guys do when they're completely healthy, and 9 times out of 10 in the last few years, they've played majority of the games in the season. So
I will say injuries have. This is
and
a
guess
longer
what?
season.
And guess what, Mike? Injuries happen.
Injuries happen. Look, the Niners, they fell apart last season.
Like, I'm not like you go and give 10, 15 million to a couple really good offensive linemen and they get hurt. I mean, I just rather would ride it out with this line while you can. The thing is, and build the defense.
Because at the end of the day, they have to make sure if Tyron Smith does miss games, who's replacing him?
Terrence Steele. When Terrence Steele had to come in for spot starts, he was effective. When he had to play multiple games, he was not. So if he needs to come in for a couple games, fine. There's going to be guys that you can get in the second, third round that may be guys you can plug in. Connor Williams was really good and effective last year. Joe Looney was really good and effective last year.
I mean, those are vets, though.
I'm just saying, there's the Cowboys thing with their offensive line. They have their 4 main, other than
Did Connor Williams play left tackle at some point?
He played mainly guard. Mainly guard
because he has just have short arms.
He mainly played left. He mainly played left and played right guard for Zach Martin when he got hurt.
Yeah, you don't want him. Is he starting right now?
No, he's not the starter right now.
So he's a swing tackle.
Yeah,
or
he's a
guard?
He's a swing tackle right now. So anyway, the 4 offensive linemen that they're basically starting and going into the year with are your Lyle Collins, your Biotish, your Zach Martin, and your Tyron Smith. The 5th guy is a swing tackle. It could be Looney. It could be whoever you want it to be.
Wasn't Looney the backup center? And he can play guard
but
as well.
he can play everything. That's what I'm saying. The Cowboys, their backups, they switch guys in and out. Sometimes Tyron Smith got switched in and out.
I understand. I had Looney. We drafted him, the Niners.
Yeah, exactly. So I just choose to, like, of the one position, and since they started focusing on the offensive line, the one position group that I'm not concerned about is offensive line. I'm more concerned about linebacker. I'm more concerned about secondary and safety right now, and I'm more concerned about even the defensive line. So
I will say, though, it's on the bucket to at least draft a tackle in the first 3 rounds.
No, they will. I can guarantee you their first 3 picks will be offensive tackle, corner/safety, and either receiver or some sort of
this is the
weapon.
draft, though, to sign a... Not draft, sorry. This is the year to sign a corner in free agency.
I like Brashad Breeland. Keanu Neal, I think, is going to get linked really heavy to the Cowboys because of. But safety, secondary is what we're talking about here. Breeland, Vaccaro is another guy. I mean, there's going to be some options out there if they want. And then we even just talked about Riley Reif and Zeitler. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be guys out there that the Cowboys can take a chance on. I just don't think
they're going to sign those guys because those guys are starters.
I'm not saying they're going to. I'm just saying those are, we'll see what happens.
There probably might be an option to, I think.
And this is only the first day.
We need to move on, but I do think that the Cowboys should at least fix their issues in free agency and then go into the draft with best, because they, like you stated, they do draft best players available
right now. What I would like to see them right now, and I was listening to,
and I'm not saying spend money. I'm saying to at least try to get value guys.
I was listening
at those positions.
to the Blogging the Boys, Dalton Miller, Connor, and Cole, and basically there's a couple different options. Do you draft corner like Surtain, Farley, and whatchamacallit? Surtain, Farley, and who's the other one? J.C. Horn, and then mix it with maybe a tackle in the second or third round, and then sign defensive tackle in free agency. Sign
it just depends on how much money
safety.
they,
like a couple of mid-tier guys, and then draft the rest. Or do you go for one big fish, one big defensive tackle, or whatever? No, I know, but these were the options that brought up, and they had different perspectives.
Sure, I think good teams typically looked for trying to get a decent player who's signing on an undervalued contract. Look, you're trying to get value.
I think
because if you're paying for top gays, sorry, that's not to be offensive.
Top guys. And even then, top guys.
But anyways, no disrespect to anyone. I apologize.
We're fine.
I think they should, for them specifically, the way that they have these contracts built out, they really should be signing guys to win 2-year deals. They really shouldn't sign any more long-term deals at the moment.
No, I would agree 100%. And even in a non-pandemic year, I would think the same. Most of the guys they sign, you can look at the guy that they signed from the Patriots last year, the offensive lineman. You can look at Marshall, or you can look at Benson Mayowa from years past.
The problem is, when you sign backup offensive linemen, they're typically just not good. There's a reason why
I understand that, but as long as you have two, possibly,
I would rather draft offensive linemen.
I'm not saying you. Yeah. I'm not saying there won't. I'm just saying I'm not. I still am. Again, if they take it offensive tackle in the first round, I won't be mad at it, but I won't be happy about it.
You're just it's like when the 49ers drafted Kinlaw.
And it's not that might not be a position in a year or two. It's that you have. Unless Tyron Smith, La'el Collins, and Zach Martin get hurt, that guy's probably not seeing the field.
He'll probably see the field at some point.
If you take Slater, he would need Tyron Smith or La'el Collins going down again to start, and it very well could happen.
Your center.
But you're not banking on that. Biotish, and he was healthy all last year once he started. He's probably He's probably replacing Frederick. He's a stud. Tyler Biotish out of I think Wisconsin or Nebraska. He's a stud. He is
Nebraska.
Really good.
Both those teams typically come out. Well, Nebraska always
the Cowboys have found really good centers in the last few years. I applaud them for that. But one last thing I want to say here is, like I said, offensive tackle is a position that I think you can get by this year and then figure it out next year. Corner, safety, and linebacker and defensive tackle are more positions that I'm really concerned. I'm more concerned about the defense than the offense, basically.
So we typically, if we talk about the Cowboys, we always go on a little bit of a...
I'm just very passionate about. I'm not saying no offensive tackle in the first round, but 9 times out of the only guy I'm willing to take. There's 2 guys I'm willing to take at 10 if they're there, and that's Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater. If they're not there, you avoid that until the second, third round.
I don't know.
Period.
I like Tucker. I don't
hate Tucker. I just don't think he's Slater or
no. But I think
Sewell.
he's a good player regardless. He could put him at guard. You could put him at center.
Now,
you could put him at tackle.
I will caveat this, and I know we're kind of gone on a little bit of a crazy here. But last thing I'm going to say, and I swear this is the last thing I'm going to say, if you wanted to trade back and say a team wants to take a quarterback at 10. Then you could go ahead and trade back a few spots. Say with the Niners. Say with the who's at 14 or 15 that could be interested in a quarterback. There's a few teams there. Patriots. And you go back a few spots, and then if one of those tackles is still there,
Steelers.
You take them.
How far back are you willing
And then
to
you
go?
can use those. I'd say anywhere from. I'd say anywhere from 11 to 15 probably.
You wouldn't go to 20.
20 if you got a really good haul.
If you're gonna draft the DN though,
but basically
that would be a good spot.
But basically, my bigger point is. You go get a corner in the second or third round, or maybe trade back up in the first with those picks, with the comp picks. If you really wanted to get a corner that's there, like a Newsome or a Melifanu.
Newsome's starting to rise.
There is a lot of options, but I'm just saying if you stay at 10, most likely it's a corner. It's Surtain or Farley or J.C. Horn. Anyways, we can get off that topic now. We don't have to go anymore.
I am curious to know how the NFL draft, when it happens, how far off are sorry, Chase, you're
I'm distracting you right now.
What I'm trying to say is how far NFL rankings are compared to Twitter rankings, or that's how I like to think of typically fans who are not just average fans, or like they live and breathe football. They're typically on Twitter.
Right.
Their rankings, I think, are going to be far off. I think because we don't have combine, we don't have a lot of these things that typically will help rise.
Whose numbers are going to be off Twitter's numbers?
No, I'm saying like rankings. Like prospect rankings.
No, they're all going to be different. Yeah, you're right.
No, I'm saying like there might be players who are probably going to be drafted at the round 20 who end up going closer to the top 10.
Yeah, no.
That we don't even think about.
Yeah, of course.
So I do want to move on.
Okay.
The CFL and the XFL are discussing caliber. Let me do this again. The CFL and the XFL are discussing a collaboration.
Yes.
Potentially in 2022.
Okay.
I think this is a great idea. Great idea.
And didn't The Rock just buy the XFL, right?
Yeah, The Rock, his ex-wife, and a couple other people.
Yeah, so that could be nice.
I think it's a smarter, because look,
that's a Canadian football league, right?
Yeah,
CFL.
Yes. Okay. So the XFL, I mean, they really are not going to have that many teams. You can maybe try to make it into two different conferences, and then they meet for the champion. Of course, they play each other, kind of structure like the NFL with the AFC and the NFC.
Yeah.
With the CFL and the XFL.
Yeah.
So it'll be something interesting. I think it'd be a better product on the field. I'm assuming that they are probably going to stick with the CFL rules and maybe implement some of the XFL kind of fun stuff that they did have last season before it got canceled.
I really would like them to bring back the dancers in the stands and the
make it really sexy.
Like you ever seen that episode of American Dad where they have the guy that comes down like on the pole with the megaphone and stuff? I want to see like shit like that, like badass halftime shows.
You want them to just spend a lot of money on the entertainment.
Yeah, there you go. But it was the AFL and the NFL that merged to form the NFL back in the day, right? I could see something similar to that. Like you said, incorporate some of the XFL stuff with the CFL rules, kind of make it more of a more fun NFL almost in a way. And I think I'm not saying they could compete with the NFL because the NFL is way up here and everything else is way down here. But it could maybe give people.
I mean, the Canadian Football League has been pretty.
You may be able to have another fantasy league if you want my honest opinion.
If sure, I guess.
And that's a completely different whatever, but I think it'd be fun. I'm just looking at the fun spots.
It won't be the NFL because they won't have NFL talent, of course.
No, of course.
But I do think there is. I wish the NFL would kind of join this and kind of try to put their structure in a little bit, just because they have deals with all these different already in place, and then they could really put maybe their practice squad players into these leagues and develop them during the spring. I do think there is a problem with, I don't know how it's going to work out. I guess it doesn't matter because the CFL players, when their season ends, they could sign with the NFL.
Yeah, because their season ends before the NFL starts. It's in spring, right?
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. So,
but the last thing I want to say about this is, and I know at the XFL and CFL won't have quite the talent. You'll see maybe maybe a few backup guys like we saw with the XFL, Patrick Walker, or was it Patrick Walker or Patrick the guy that signed with the Panthers?
Yeah.
It was a back, like we see guys like I think we see backups that maybe are like, hey, I'm never gonna start in the NFL. Maybe go and try to see if I can maybe latch on to an NFL team if I go play a year here.
Sure.
I think there's the potential, but again, they won't have the talent, but I still think it could be very fun.
I will say those leagues did have players that ended up going to the NFL who ended up at least making the team or have some sort of contribute.
By the way, my all-time favorite XFL player of all time, he hate me. I love that guy.
Just because of his back of his shirt.
He hate me.
They should allow that back in again.
I know. I 100% agree.
So with that, I appreciate you guys for watching us. We are going to be posting also like I said, a mock draft simulation. And
we're actually going to work on that
that'll be
right now.
But, please check it out. We're going to be constantly posting on YouTube, or our podcast, our Twitter account. We're going to have good takes come free agency NFL draft. And we are planning a lot of things. And
one thing I will say is look out for the first day of the NFL draft. We will be live streaming. We will have a ticker with all the picks, all the trades, all the rumors, everything going on. You do not want to miss it. Tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. I may get a little drunk. Mike may get a little tipsy. So we're going to have some fun. So be looking out for that. If
we can grow this, we could do live mock drafts on Twitch.
Yep.
and things like that. That'd be something.
We're trying
fun.
to build a brand
you can
here.
Drink with us.
Yes.
You can talk shit with us.
You can super chat us some money for our beer fund. All that good stuff. So
yeah. So with that, thank you for watching.
Thank you, guys.